now we are so pleased to welcome in a very special guest, someone who personally got justice on behalf of the state of Idaho for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy. I want to bring in prosecuting attorney Lindsey Blake, who we saw in action throughout this trial. Lindsey, good morning to you, and want to just start with a big congratulations and bravo on a tremendous job at trial, getting this conviction for this despicable killer, Chad Daybell.
Thank you for that.
Lindsey, could we start with what it was like for you trying this case, being in the public eye, a case that has garnered attention from people all around the world? What was it like?
It was definitely different. Of course, as a prosecutor, we're in the courtroom all the time, even if it's just for basic sentencings or arguments. Generally, our trials are not highly attended or watched. So it was definitely different to know that the public and that it had caught nationwide and even worldwide attention. It was a different feel to it. But at the end of the day, I always say whatever case I'm working on at that moment is the most important one because it matters to victims. It matters to the defendant. It's the most important case in other people's lives. So no matter how small or big the case, that has to be the priority at that time.
Mm-hmm. Most certainly. You're absolutely right about that. Tell us, please, when you started getting into the facts of this case, what was the thing that stunned you the most about what you learned about Chad Daybell?
Oh, man, I don't know if I could narrow it to one thing. I always say this is a case that is stranger than fiction. At every turn, it seemed like there was something new we learned, something that was uncovered. The investigators may have already known about it, and I just happened to stumble upon it as I was going through discovery. So I don't know if there was any one thing that was the most shocking. I think obviously what the state laid out as the motives in this case was extremely shocking when you include children in that, especially.
Mm-hmm. Lindsey, something that stunned me personally, and I think a lot of our wonderful trial watchers who were watching the case from start to finish on Court TV, is that once we got to the penalty phase, that Chad Daybell chose to not put on a shred of evidence. Was that stunning to you?
That's a good question. I don't know if I was completely stunned by it. I never know what strategy defense may ultimately decide to take and the rationale behind it, whether it's a decision of counsel or the defendant. Obviously, the defendant has multiple protected rights throughout the course of the trial, and those move forward into the penalty phase. So I don't know if I was completely shocked, definitely a little surprised, but I figure defense has their strategy moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Lindsey, I've got a clip I want to play for you, please. Vicki Hoban, Tammy Daybell's aunt, spoke out after learning of the verdict and the sentence. Let's take a listen.
My fear in all of this, to begin with, was that Tammy would be a little bit forgotten. With all due respect to the kids, I couldn't imagine her being a little bit lost in the mix. So today is a sweet justice for us, for myself and my immediate family.
How does it feel, Lindsey, when you hear from surviving victims, the family members, people like Vicki Hoban, how thankful they are that they finally got some bit of justice, some bit of closure? We know it's never complete closure, but you know, when you're personally involved in trying the case, how does it feel when they come to you after the fact and thank you for the job well done?
It's incredible. Obviously, we don't do this for the thanks. We don't do it for the credit. It's our job. We're going in there and we're seeking justice on behalf of the victims, on behalf of the living victims, and really on behalf of the state of Idaho in my case. With the victims being pleased with the outcome, it makes it worth it. And I think along Vicki's statements, that was one of the main reasons when I came into office that we took the case back, is we definitely wanted Tammy and the kids to be combined into one case. These were linked. We did not want Tammy to be forgotten in the mix of things. These three victims are inextricably intertwined due to no choosing of their own for the rest of their lives. and it was appropriate to have it be one case.
And you and your fellow office members did a beautiful job in giving all of those victims a voice throughout this case. Everyone watching felt like they got to know them. I think to a great degree, really. We got to hear a lot about what wonderful people they were, Tammy, Tylee, and JJ, who were so undeserving of this. Tell me, Lindsey, when we know that Chad Daybell decided to waive his rights to a speedy trial, and we know that Lori wanted to make sure that she had her speedy trial, and we know that the judge took the death penalty off the table. Was there ever any pause or hesitation from your office going forward with Chad's case, pursuing capital punishment for him after it was not available as punishment for Lori?
There was not. Outside of this case, we had multiple discussions as a prosecution team to decide whether or not we thought death was appropriate to put on the table. We factored in different things in relation to Lori, different things in relation to Chad, and the decision was made at the outset that it was appropriate to allow that as a punishment. Idaho's a little unique. Essentially, first-degree murder in the state of Idaho is punishable by 10 years to life. So someone could get as low as 10 years fixed on a first-degree case. If the death penalty is put on the table, that changes it, that if the jury finds an aggravator, it would be death or automatic life. So to ensure life in the state of Idaho, that is one of the routes that can be pursued. And so in this case, where we'd already made that decision at the outset, I don't think there was any hesitation in keeping it as an option on the table.
Completely understand that. Lindsey, tell me, if these two despicable defendants had come to your office long before trial and said, we want to own up to our conduct, we want to plead guilty, would there have been consideration from your office in removing the death penalty as punishment?
I always say I think we have to be open to plea offers, and I think there's multiple reasons for that. Sometimes it's even just the nature of the appellate process, how long it takes, the fact that that may dredge things up for the victims over the next 20 years. So it is always something that we consider. The way that my office has always handled things is we will loop the victims in before making any formal plea offer to try to ensure that it's something that they themselves can feel comfortable with. So I always say I would never say never to a plea agreement, essentially.
Sure, and what you're really saying here is, you are such a tremendous advocate for victims. You're talking about doing what's best for the victims in the case, getting justice, and being open to all possible circumstances. Lindsey, before we let you go, anything that you would like to say, anything that you would like to be asked about this case, about your work on it, which, as I said before, has been tremendous?
I appreciate that. I think I would just say with this case, it has been amazing to see so many agencies come together and the work that's been put in. There's so many people behind the scenes that have contributed. I mean, we heard in court too, the state's got a bigger team, they've got more prosecutors, but this was a case that definitely we wanted to put whatever resources we had to ensure that justice was served. And I've just been so impressed by the team as a whole.
Yes, we know there were many, many people coming together to do the great work that you were a part of. And so I know that there are a lot of people around the world that are thankful for that and thankful that these two people can't hurt anyone anymore. Lindsey Blake, it was a delight having you on Opening Statements this morning. I hope you will get some rest first, but then come back and join us another day and do some analysis for us on another case. We would love that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here this morning.
Thank you. Take good care, Lindsey.